not surprising that the majority of Microbrand watches I see every day happen to be sports watches. And when I say sports watches, I mean specifically dive watches. And when I say dive watches, I don't mean something totally out there. I mean like the archetype of a dive watch. Timing bezel, 3 o'clock crown, you know the deal. Now, it's also not surprising that after unboxing these watches day in and day out, I am begging to see something different once in a while. Unfortunately, nowadays, when you ask a watchmaker to show you something different, they say, okay, this person doesn't want a dive watch, let's give them something with an integrated bracelet. Why not? They don't realize that that has become played out as well. I don't want to see either of those anymore. And thankfully, we're very early into 2024, like the first month of 2024, and I'm already seeing a silver lining, a beacon of hope. What I'm trying to say is I'm finally seeing something exciting. Introducing the Bilic Watch Co. Leklu. I'm probably mispronouncing the name of the company and of the watch, but that's par for the course around here. It is 1:38 p.m. Let's get down to business. Now guys, I'm currently wearing a Certina DS2 Chronolympic. This watch actually climbed Mount Everest, and this is not for sale, but we do have a bunch of amazing vintage watches over at the Time Teller shop, handpicked by me, just incredible pieces, and the Time Teller shop actually sponsored this episode, so thank you very much. You're welcome. All right, jumping into the specs of this Leklu, 40mm case, 48mm lug to lug, but easily the most impressive metric here is the case thickness, or I should say thinness. This is only 8.9mm thick. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, this must have either a hand wind movement or it's a dastardly quartz. No, it's actually an automatic. This is a Swiss-made watch. This has a Sellita SW 300 automatic movement. That's right, usually when we're looking at Swiss workhorse movements in microbrands, we tend to see Sellita SW 200s. This is a 25 joule automatic, very, very thin. One of my favorite parts about this watch when we're talking about functionality is that it has a threaded crown and a 120-meter water resistance rating. So while this is not the archetype of a dive watch, this isn't even really marketed as a dive watch, this is absolutely a viable everyday sports watch. One more thing about this watch's functionality, and actually kind of jumping back to the movement, this has a 56-hour power reserve. You are getting all of this for around 550 euros. So okay, now that we know about the watch's specs, what do I think about it? Well, for that, we're gonna have to go into the pros and cons. The first pro would be the thickness and overall dimensions, okay? This is an incredibly wearable watch. The one I got came on this silicone strap, and it's very, very comfortable. It's supple, it's not rigid, and it doesn't feel gross. But the case measurements are just insane. I mean, 40mm right on the button with that sweet spot. 48mm lug to lug, that's perfectly fine. On my 7.5-inch wrist, it's not like encompassing the entirety of my wrist. And that sub 9mm thickness, or again, thinness, is just crazy. This is a sports watch that you will actually want to have on your wrist day to day. Next thing, really like about this watch is it has decent lume, and it's blue tone lume, which I think is probably BGW9, although in the spec sheet they gave me, it didn't list it, but I'm almost positive this must be Superluminova BGW9. Another pro, I love the gradient kind of fume dial, how it's very light towards the spindle and it kind of gets darker as we get over towards the chapter ring and the Rio. It's just a very, very captivating dial without being too out there. I like the spiral groove cuts. Again, kind of almost helps you focus on that center spindle. The gradient along with those groove cuts, it's almost like mesmerizing. And the final pro is this is actually a whole lot of watch, a Swiss-made sports watch that is actually, you know, very, very wearable and very solidly built. For 550 euros, that's about just under $600 right now at the time of filming. So I think this is definitely an entry-level spec monster that doesn't fall into the typical archetype of a Microbrand sports watch, whether it be, you know, the typical diver or the integrated bracelet, boring, gross, sick, disgusting design language. But it's not perfect, so let's get into the cons. Now, the first con is usually something I reserve to the end of the cons list. No drilled lugs, which is unfortunate because this actually has very long lugs and there's actually a lot of space to just drill a hole. It'll make it easier for people to swap the strap out. The next con is that this is a media piece. This is a prototype, but again, I can only review the watches that I have here in person. And as we get up close to the handset, I'm sure some of you have already seen it and commented about it when you saw the intro macro footage. The lume on the handset, it's very, very dirty. So the application of the lume on the handset of this prototype is not very clean, and it's not something that I would like to see on the production models at all. The next con would be the butterfly clasp. This is not a dive watch, so I cannot say that this is illegal because, again, I made a rule on this channel that butterfly clasps on dive watches are illegal, and I will call the FBI. But either way, I'm just not a fan of butterfly clasps at all. And the final con would be that the case back's kind of boring, all right? I get it, it's a functional case back. It's not a display case back. Not everything has to have some crazy engraving, but I'm so spoiled with all the watches I look at nowadays that when there's not anything to look at on the case back, I get kind of bummed. So that's the final con. But all in all, when we're looking at microbrands, when we're looking at microbrand sports watches, it is very refreshing to see something come out from a watchmaker I've never heard of, by the way, at an affordable price range with crazy dimensions, incredible specs for under $1,000, well under $1,000. Bilic Watch Company did a very good job here with the Leklu, and I will leave a link to this watch in the description below. And yeah, let me know what you think about this watch. Would you wear it? Do you like it? Do you want something with an integrated bracelet? Would you have preferred just a standard archetype of a dive watch? Let me know and tell me what you think about butterfly clasps. Have I been too harsh? I'll catch you in the comment section. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.